do I even want to post this? Do I even want to put this out here? I don't know. I'm sorry. 1 second. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle Burr. If you're new here, it's your first time here, I make lots of lifestyle type of videos and motivation, and my goal is to just be as real as I can with my audience and motivate them to be the best versions of themselves and to share my story. So I would love it if you chose to subscribe and stick around. Today is kind of a little bit of a different type of video for my channel. I'm going to be sharing my story of discovering my pituitary gland tumor. Not many people know that I have a pituitary gland tumor. I just want to say that God works in the most mysterious ways. I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church every Sunday. I do pray every day. I want to be real and I want to be honest, and I am a firm believer in God puts things on my heart to share, and I don't overthink them, and I just decide to share them. And nothing that I've ever been open about in the past or shared with you in the past I've ever regretted. So this is not going to be any different for me. The point of me sharing this is to help someone gain some knowledge and maybe give me some knowledge that I didn't know about. So I'm just so glad you're here, and yeah, let's get started. I just wanted to let you know what the pituitary gland was if you're not familiar. It's a little gland in your brain, and it kind of looks like a cherry on a stem, and it's hanging off of your brain. Actually, 1 out of 5 people have a pituitary gland tumor, so it's very common. Many people go their entire life without knowing they have it. And I'm gonna get into the story of how mine was discovered. So the pituitary gland is known as the master gland in your body. It's like the powerhouse of the functions that go on in your body. Its job is to regulate and produce hormones, and it sends stimuli to different parts of your organs in your body. Now, if you know my backstory and what's going on with my fertility and my cycles, this is, I can guarantee you that this is all gonna come full circle for you watching it and watching my story, just like it came full circle for me. So one of the biggest jobs of the pituitary gland is to send signals to your ovaries to produce hormones like estrogen, which in turn help you grow the eggs that you need to ovulate. So I'm just gonna leave that right there. We'll get to that in a second, but if you've been following my story, you can probably see where I'm going with this. The job of the pituitary gland is also to send signals to your adrenals, which regulates your levels of cortisol and creates cortisol in your body. The pituitary gland is also in charge of producing prolactin, which is the breastfeeding hormone in women. So I want to say that it was 2013, maybe 2014. I was still in college, and I was at my parents' house one day, and I just got really sick. Like, I felt like maybe that I had strep, but I just felt more of like the body sickness, and like my throat was sore, but I just felt really sick. And so my mom took me to an ENT, and it was before they were closing, so there was a woman doctor there that took a 2-second look at me and was like, well, we'll just go ahead and do your blood work because it'll show if you have any infection or any bacteria that we need to take care of. And so I'm like, okay. She does my blood work, go home. They're gonna call me the next day, and I was gonna go back up to the office to review my blood work, get a diagnosis. So the next day I went to the doctor's office. Well, there was a new doctor working that day, and they hadn't looked at my blood work from the day before. The other doctor, I don't remember like the details of why the blood work wasn't addressed. For some reason, there was a lapse in communication from the first doctor that did my blood work and then the second doctor. I don't know, or maybe they look, I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember. I don't know how this happened, but looking back, it was God that gave them that discrepancy, because they gave me this medication, and it was this big pill, and it was supposed to fight like all forms of bacteria. So they thought, you know, if you have strep or anything like that, this will do it. He said there is a side effect, but there's literally, it's very rare. Not many of the population reacts to the side effect of this medication. So I went home, I started taking the medication. Immediately, my like Achilles tendon got really sore, and like there were parts of my joints that felt bruised to the touch. So I went back to the doctor and I told him that's what I was feeling, and he said, wow, that's really interesting, because that's a side effect that nobody really that he's ever even treated or seen, and this is an older man, has had to this medication. Sorry, doc, I'm your first. And he said that that was a really rare side effect, and he didn't expect me to experience it. So he said, let's just go ahead and do a MRI and a CAT scan. I still don't know what at this point where the lack of communication was, and you'll see why it's like mind-blowing to me that it got to this point. And so anyways, I went for the MRI and the CAT scan. Didn't think anything of it. I mean, I was young. Like, this is the first time that I really had gotten sick and like had to do something like this. I don't even know why they chose to do this, honestly. I just keep saying that because it's really mind-blowing, and you'll see later why it's just so mind-blowing. So I went and did the scans, and then they got the results back like maybe 48 hours later. I went back to the doctor's office, and he said, well, your scans came back normal. Doesn't show anything about the illnesses that you're having. But I want to show you this scan, the MRI of your brain. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, what? So he like pulls up a picture, and he's like, do you see this right here? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, this is your pituitary gland. And he said, do you see this little pea sitting on your pituitary gland? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that's actually a tumor. So you have a tumor on your pituitary gland. Well, immediately I was like freaking out, like, okay. And he was like, it's no big deal, but you're gonna have to get it checked once a year, because if it starts to grow, then that could cause problems. But it's just a little pea-sized tumor on your pituitary gland. Now, your pituitary gland is just about the size of a small grape. So I guess relatively speaking, a pea on a small grape is kind of significant. So he said, just monitor it. You seem to be doing fine this far. We'll just keep monitoring it. Oh, and by the way, we got your blood work and looked at your blood work, and you have mono. And I'm like, so this whole time I had mono, but for some reason we did these tests and casually found the pituitary gland tumor. So I have kept up with monitoring it. I had just gotten it looked at last year, so I'm due for another scan. And it hasn't grown, it's stable. But at the time, last year, whenever I had gotten the follow-up, my most recent follow-up for the scan, I wasn't trying to conceive. I wasn't thinking about children or fertility or my cycle. So I didn't even mention to the doctor that I had absent periods, that I didn't have periods or I didn't ovulate, because that didn't matter to me then, you know? After all this research and looking into my pituitary gland, knowing that it is its main job. Is this glare bothering you? Because it's bothering me. I'm taking the glasses off. So now doing a whole bunch of research and knowing the functions of the pituitary gland, I believe it is my theory, because you know your body, you need to listen to your body. I'm 100% going to tell you this. I've spoke on this on my podcast before. Listen to your body. I think that my pituitary gland isn't doing a good job of giving my ovaries the signals to produce estrogen in a timely fashion. So estrogen is what makes the follicles grow. Once they get to a certain size, they rupture and an egg comes out, and that is ovulation. Well, I ovulate sporadically over a period of 4 to 6 months. So to me, that is the result of my pituitary gland, but I put it all in the back burner, and I just thought, well, I can go to a specialist and they can give me a pill to make me ovulate. Done. So that's what I've been doing. I've been going to a reproductive endocrinologist whose main focus is the female organs. I did a full blood test panel when I first got there. It was like just vials of blood. It was like easily 7 to 10 vials of blood. I did the HSG test where they shoot dye into your female reproductive areas, organs, and everything looked normal. And my entire blood panel looked normal, which is crazy to me. After I did all the testing, we met with the reproductive endocrinologist again, and he said, well, everything looks normal, your tubes are open, but since you have an absence of periods and you're anovulatory, meaning I don't ovulate, we're diagnosing you with PCOS. And That's probably protocol for doctors like that. If they see that you don't have a period, an abundance of follicles, because mind you, they don't grow every month and they don't release every month or burst every month to release an egg. So my ovaries are covered in follicles, which is great. I'd rather have more than not enough, because that is just more of chances to get me to ovulate and have children. I'll probably be able to have children a lot later in life because my follicles or eggs, if you will, are backed up, which is great. He also told me that I will probably have delayed menopause, because later on in life, my body will still think that I'm in the prime baby making mode. And so my menopause will kick in later in life, which is all great. But I'm like, okay, I need the eggs to release. So he went ahead and chalked it up as PCOS, which I'm sure is the standard protocol for them. If they see that you're lacking a period and anovulatory, then that's typically PCOS. So I had been seeing this doctor and essentially stimulating my ovaries to ovulate. So I recently did a cycle to get me to ovulate. It was a lot. I was injecting myself with hormones in my stomach every day, another hormone to trigger ovulation, and it's been really, really stressful, and it didn't work. And I had been praying so hard. I didn't want to get emotional about this because I feel really good about it. I had been praying so hard for answers. I had been just in my bed at night, just saying, God, like, give me something. You know, at this point, God hasn't spoken to me. He hasn't spoken to me in any way. And I would just pray, God, please just tell me what I need to do. Just give me a sign, you know? Give me some peace. And that's all I wanted was, and I just, and all of these hormone treatments weren't covered by insurance. And I quit my stressful job teaching to try and grow my family. And now we are a one-income family, and we're having to pay out of pocket for all of these injections. So it's just really stressful, and I know that we have our little savings and we have our little nest egg, but it just felt like I wasn't really at peace. So I would just pray and pray and pray, like, God, you see us going through our savings that's meant for our future and our baby, you know, and I don't want to drain our savings on me. I want to spend it on our child and our future. And I would just pray so hard for just peace and answers. Well, nothing. I felt nothing, you know, until I did my most recent pregnancy test, which I knew like right away that the hormones just didn't work. Like, I feel like once you know, like, you know, and it was like early on that I knew that I wasn't pregnant and they didn't work. And so I took the pregnancy test. It was negative. And I had my moment where I was upset, but I think if I had this hormone imbalance with just like ovaries that aren't working, it would be one thing. But in the back of my mind, this pituitary tumor has been there, you know? And I just thought, well, I can take pills to force me to ovulate, or inject hormones inside of me to make me ovulate, get pregnant, have my baby, and I'll just do that every time I want kids. But after I got a negative pregnancy test, I felt the most overwhelming amount of peace inside of me, and it was weird. And I just felt God speaking to me that I need to be the healthiest version of myself, get my hormones under control, go about it from that way forward. I think if I could get my hormones under control, which I want to do naturally, and that's a whole plan that I have going forward. I have done research. I have a plan. Like, I literally have a hormone fertility plan in place that I really feel in my heart is going to be what's best for me in the long run. And I don't want to band-aid things anymore. Do I even want to post this? Do I even want to put this out here? I don't know. Do I even want to say all this? I'm sorry. One second. So I'm not saying that going to my reproductive endocrinologist is off the table. I'm not saying that I'm done. I'm not saying that I won't go back to them. Maybe I will. But I just feel like I'm in such a good headspace right now to just take the steps of taking care of my adrenals, taking care of my pituitary gland naturally, taking care of my hormones and balancing them naturally. And yesterday I took the first step of that, and I want to share with you my plan for balancing my hormones and getting my endocrine functions as healthy as possible. I know that it's going to be a process. I know it's going to be a long road, but I really feel in my heart that if that's my main focus, God is gonna bless me with a baby in that time span. Like, I just feel like it's just gonna be part of my story. Like, it's just really hard to describe, but I don't know. I was FaceTiming my grandmother today, and I just spilled all of my knowledge out on her, spilled all of my feelings, and she knows what I've been going through. She like agreed with me, and she was like, yeah, like, you should take your scans from your brain to an endocrinologist, which I've never went to see an endocrinologist before, and just tell him, I think this is affecting my cycles and I don't have a period, and I think it's because of this pituitary gland tumor. And maybe he can get me on track to fix my pituitary gland tumor to give me a normal functioning cycle. And with a normal functioning cycle comes a family. I don't know, I just feel really good about everything up until this point, and I want to share that with you. I want to be as open and honest with my journey as with you, and you know, the products that I'm doing and the things that I'm doing every morning and night, and I have a plan for what I want to do daily and nightly, and I just feel almost excited about it. I feel excited for this journey to unlocking those doors that I've just sealed shut for the past few years. I don't know, I just feel really, really good about it, and who knows, it could happen pretty quickly. So make sure you're subscribed to see if I'm posting a pregnancy announcement in the near future. And this is the first time that I feel like God has given me the peace in my heart that I needed for so long. And yeah, it's crazy. So that is it, guys. I'm sure whenever I'm editing this video, I'm going to be looking back at so many gaps in this video and things that I want to tell you. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, because I am going to be documenting the teas that I'm drinking, natural teas that I'm drinking to balance my hormones and my endocrine system. I am going to be documenting some essential oils that I have that have been proven to help all of these things and promote healthy functions, healthy cycles. And there's actually been people out there that have naturally shrunk their pituitary gland, and people that balance their hormones naturally all the freaking time. So I'm on a journey. I am on a journey, and I really, really hope that you can join this journey with me. I just want to be open and honest for the simple fact that I could help somebody, and I could give someone peace of mind or knowledge, or I don't know. I'm not gonna question it, but if it's on my heart to share it with you, then that's what I'm gonna do. A bitch is gonna be real. Leave a comment below if you want some encouraging words or knowledge. That'd be great. DM me on Instagram anytime. I would love to hear from you. And thank you for watching this video. Bye, guys. That was weird. Bye, guys.
I can't wait to leave this town, 'cause lately I've been feeling down. The cold nights just don't feel the same. Oh, like my life inside a car.